Breathe in and breathe out. Did you know that indoor air you breathe could be up to 5 times more polluted than outdoor air? Fresh Air Matters specializes in helping you create a healthy indoor environment by cleaning the air you breathe. They offer local plans and services that include air filter replacement plans, air duct cleaning, and many more. Go to freshairmatters.com, call or text 469-469-1852 to learn more about cleaning your indoor air. That's freshairmatters.com or 469-469-1852. Tell Steven you heard about Fresh Air Matters from the Back in the Day podcast to receive a special discount on air duct cleaning, air purifiers, and more. Again, tell him that you heard about it from Back in the Day podcast. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode. On this episode, we have one of my favorite comics in the Dallas scene, the hilarious Lawrence Rosales. I've worked with Lawrence 100 times. He's hilarious. You guys are really going to enjoy his interview. And big news, Lawrence just got done filming and taping his new 1-hour special. Should be coming out very, very soon. And I'll have all the details in the show notes. So make sure you check out his special. I think you're going to enjoy it. I know you're going to enjoy it. I saw it live and it was amazing. Enjoy the episode, guys.
Hey, are you talking about back in the day?
Nah, man. I'm talking about back in the day.
Back in the day. Back in the day. Back in the day. Back in the day.
Joining me today on the Back in the Day podcast, fresh off of filming his new special, Lawrence Rosales. What's up, dude?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, of course, man. Love to see you. Love your local show that you have out there in the country.
Oh yeah, in the country, out in Salina.
Last time I did it, I left my debit card. Do you know how shitty that was?
Did you go back and get it?
Yeah, I went back and got it.
Dude,
it's like I did. It's like a road trip. I had to do a road trip to get my. And this is something I do often.
I felt so bad for you because you had just left. They came out and they were like, "We have Lawrence's debit card here. He left it here."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I'll just text him real quick." And I texted you. You didn't see it. And then I messaged you on Instagram. You didn't see it. And I was like, I waited for a good 25, 30 minutes for you because I know how far it is.
Yeah.
So you don't have to come all the way back here.
Well, I screw myself sometimes because for my own peace of mind, I've turned off all of my alerts. I have to open up the app to see that I got a message because that way I just sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. You know, and my mental health, sometimes I just need to do
Take a break from that crap.
Yeah, but then I'll check my messages and I'll see it a day later and I'm like, oh, I really should have had that. This is messing with my mental health. I gotta have these alerts turned on.
Drive to Salina now.
Drive to Salina again.
Well, just know next time you do that show, you don't need a debit card. You don't need a tab. Your tab is taken care of. So.
Oh yeah, I didn't even have a tab. I didn't even have a tab that night. I just gave it to him. You know, I just gave it to him.
So don't pull that debit card out next time so you don't lose it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you always do really good in that room.
I love that space, man. It's a really good space.
You know they are moving. Did I tell you about this yet? So,
shout out Ben and Skin.
Yeah, I think it's 2025, so it's still got a little time before it happens. There was all these different cities vying for a new location of them.
Oh, really?
So Frisco ended up winning.
Oh, thanks. So it's closer now.
Yeah, so it's going to be in downtown Frisco, if you know where the FC Dallas soccer stadium is. It's going to be across the street from there. They're building a $12 million facility.
Wow.
It's going to be huge. They're building it from the ground up.
They're going to kick you out. They're not going to have comedy there anymore.
They told me they
hit the big time.
Yeah, they told me they're like, dude, people can. We're going to have professional lights, a professional stage, professional audio equipment. He's like, the comedy nights there are going to be legit.
Yeah.
You could have people film specials here. I was like, we could, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll have to have you out whenever.
Yeah,
I'm sure I'll have you out before then. But yeah,
I would love to.
You had that great. I don't know if it was the last time you were there. It might have been the first time you were there.
The first time I was there was pure. I think I hardly told a joke.
Yes. Well, you did a guest spot there that one time. You just happened to be hanging out. Remember that? That was a couple summer, and that's where it was standing room only and everything.
Yeah. But the first time I headlined, I remember those ladies just yelled at me.
Yes.
And we had a good time. I never got it was the audience, everybody, I remember the bartender being like, hey, you're the first comic we've had that's just done that. And I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I didn't feel like I had a choice.
Yeah. It was, because wasn't it? It was something weird. It was they were
They used to
They
be
both were married
to the same guy.
man.
Yeah.
And like one of them is married to him now, and they're like good friends or something, but they didn't know each other before. I don't know. It was something very
It was
weird.
the most Salina conversation I could imagine having with somebody. But like, they wouldn't stop trying to tell me about it.
No,
And I wasn't even
they
trying to like. I didn't go like, "Hey, you all married to the same man?" And they're like, "Yeah, we are, and we're
Yeah.
going to tell you about it for about 35 minutes."
It didn't come up organically. Like they planned to talk about that night.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
But we had a good time. I remember having a really good time.
Yeah, that was a good one. They had, and then I don't remember how it went the last time you were there, but I'm sure it was.
Oh yeah, last time I was there was great too. But like,
Yeah.
I got to like that time I was there. Like I did a set.
Yeah. You did.
I did a set that night.
The other time
Well, you
was
had that NFL guy there. There was like some,
Oh, yeah.
like
Joe
excellent-
Barksdale.
Yeah. And I remember him being like, I remember thinking like, oh, you're in the NFL and you're gonna do this? Like, I'm gonna destroy you because this is all I have.
And he was good,
He
man.
was good. He did great.
I didn't know the NFL thing until he said it on stage.
Yeah.
So, do you know Michael Burnett? He lives in Austin.
Sounds familiar.
He lives in Austin, but he was in LA for like 10, 11 years, and he moved out to Austin, I want to say before it was the thing to do. Maybe like right before that. And I know him we went to college together, so we started comedy together in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
And so he hit me up about Joe and was like, can you put him on a show? He's going to be in Dallas. And I was like, actually, you know what? I have Roller Town that weekend. I'll put him on. Absolutely. So I put him on and had no idea that he was an ex-NFL player until he went up there and started talking about it. I was like, okay. I was like, he was a big dude, but I didn't realize he was a
big dude.
He's like 7-8 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
Something crazy like that.
It was it's fascinating to see stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's weird to think that like some NFL player would have the dream of doing what we do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, why would you
made it in life.
Why would you slide down the totem pole to this?
To come in and drive in 4 hours to come do a brewery show.
Oh yeah, right. Like, I'm upset I left my debit card here.
Yeah,
You're-
I'll just buy the place.
yeah, you're gonna come out here and gladly do a guest spot, you know. But yeah, that's cool. I remember I used to be a big sports radio guy when I was younger.
Okay.
Like I loved the ticket. So Ben and Skin used to fill in on the ticket.
Yeah,
they were
absolutely.
the fill-in guys. So I remember the first time I did that place, I think it was the guest spot night I showed up. Maybe it was the first time I did this spot. And I just remember whenever the guy came up on the mic and started talking, I was like, I know this voice. And he said it was Ben. I was like, oh, shit. Like, I went to take a picture with him whenever the night was over. I was like, I used to be a huge fan of you, dude. Like, not used to be, but like, I just hadn't like, the life I live now, I'm not tuned
Listening
into
to
sports radio anymore. But like,
well, it was funny because I think I talked to you. I was like, do you know who Ben and Skin are? Like, yeah, I know very well of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now their show, you actually may enjoy their show more than, now their show is more I don't know, I would consider it like a variety show. It's just like, they talk sports because, you know, if sports is on the topic, they do like one segment a day that is dedicated to sports. And then like obviously right now with the Rangers winning the World Series yesterday, they talked a lot about the Rangers this last few weeks, but they don't talk about this. They're not on a sports station anymore.
yeah.
They're on like a all talk station where all the shows are just kind of like, I would say they're kind of like a clean Howard Stern, like maybe, you know.
Yeah.
Clean.
I mean, that's what the ticket always was. The ticket was, it was sports radio, but it was like, it was inside jokes, and it was like they kind of worked their way, like, you know, around sports, and sports would routinely come up, but they kind of built their own thing.
Yeah,
and I thought it was cool. Like they're a local station, and I think they're the number one station in the Metroplex.
The ticket?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that they're starting to get some push from some of the other stations, but yeah, definitely like because you know Mike Reiner.
Yeah, and he went and started the Freak.
Yeah,
whatever.
that's what Ben and Skinner are on. They're on the Freak.
Yeah.
And then
my buddy that I live with is a huge. I mean, like whenever I tuned out, he never did, and he's a huge. He listens to all their podcasts. Like,
oh, really?
Dan just got like Dan and Jake or whatever started their own podcast because they went to all the contract issues.
Yeah, whatever.
It was all public,
you know, compete or whatever they had.
Yeah, and so he's like whenever we're watching like the Cowboys game, like he's listening to them do like the live stream. Like I'm trying to hang out with him, and he's got his earbuds in, and he's listening to the live stream with Dan and Jake. And I'm like, I wish we were this close.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
wish you would pay attention to me.
Like he keeps pausing. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to sync up with the podcast I'm listening to. I'm like, I'm your best friend.
Yeah,
I'm your
I
best
live
friend.
with you.
Yeah, I'm your best friend.
You've never listened to me this long. You're being like the nagging wife. Like,
yeah,
he's just like,
yeah. No, his wife is sitting there too. Like we're all sitting there just looking at him as he's trying to sync up the TV with the podcast. Yeah, but you know, people are fans of things. You know,
absolutely.
Were you excited about the Rangers last night?
Dude, I cried.
Oh, you cried?
I cried, dude.
I'm such a crier, but it didn't,
No.
I cry real easy.
I think it's a lot of like, you go to baseball games with your dad. It's like, like a lot of like the family stuff. Like, some of us go to baseball games with our dad or whatever. I think it was a lot of that. Like, that's like my wife and I would go to the Rangers games when we were first married, and like, and they've always been so bad. I mean, they've had like, a couple of seasons where they were good, but just like losing and losing, and it's like you never thought that was going to happen. So I mean, I let my kids stay up. We watched it.
I was super excited because my buddy that I lived with, I mean, we've lived together. I mean, we've known each other. We've lived together a bunch of different places, like over 15, 20 years. And he's always like, I'm not going to pretend I'm I'm not a huge baseball fan.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I like the Rangers. They're my team if I'm picking a team, but I'm not like some huge Rangers fan. He was like, whenever we lived together when we were like 20, like I would leave the house and he's he's got all the baseball cards. Like he'd be watching spring training.
Yeah.
He'd be watching batting practice. I'd be walking out of the apartment going, are you watching batting practice right now? Like he paid extra for the MLB network to like watch batting practice. So like last night, whenever they got that last out, like me and his wife, we're sitting there, like we're in the kitchen, like, yeah. And he like runs out, grabs a bottle of champagne, shakes it up, pops it in the backyard and just starts chugging it. And we're just watching from the window. Like this does not involve us. Like he's just listening to Dan and Jake.
They popped it at the same time. He synced it up.
And then he left and he went to Academy to buy the shirts and stuff. Yeah. And we're like, hey, let's celebrate. He's like, what size shirt are you? As he's running out of the backyard. Like I was so happy for him. I was so happy for him.
Were you happier for him or the players?
I was happier for him.
Yeah,
like
he's
been in it way longer than they have.
Yeah.
Like they weren't even in the league.
And that's just a hobby for him. Yeah. They're getting paid. Like
he's stuck with this way longer than they have.
Absolutely. They can be a free agent. They can be traded.
Yeah.
They get to retire one day.
But they finally won, man.
I know.
It was so cool.
It was pretty awesome. I feel like I'm not going to say I was like a bandwagoner, but I did not watch a single inning this year until the playoffs, not by choice, but because have you ever tried to watch a Rangers game? It's Bally is where they play all their games on. Screw you, Bally. Like half the Metroplex can't get Bally on any of the cable networks.
And it's on at like 2 PM.
Yeah, but even like the Mavericks games are hard to get. Like if you don't have a certain cable provider, you can't get Bally. So I mean, I kept with them up with them all season, but kind of felt like a poser a little bit, once the playoffs started finally watching it. But
I loved it, and I'm so happy for the city. But I was talking on my podcast the other day. Like the only thing I didn't like about it is like I like to between like I'll work all day and then like I'll go to a bar to write at night, and like I like my bars empty. I like a little elbow room for my disappointment in my day.
Yeah.
And whenever the Rangers are going on, like I would go have like 2 drinks, then go home and finish watching the game. I get home at like 5th inning of the playoffs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like every bar I'd walk into, I'd be like, what? Why is this? This is my dive bar I hang out in, and it's packed. You bandwagon, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, get out of my bar. And so I'm glad that things are going to get back to normal now.
I had a similar feeling to that. The first time the Mavericks made the finals, this is like 2006.
Oh, dude, I have some wild memories back in the day of those times.
So 2006, I'm in college when that's going on. So I think I'm like maybe 20 or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a little older than
we're
you.
about roughly the same age, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to, I've watched the Mavericks my entire life.
Yeah.
They've sucked my entire life. They've gotten decent the last few, 3 or 4 years, and now they're in the NBA Finals. And so my group of friends, we would go to, in the first round, we would go to like Buffalo Wild Wings, watch the game. Second round, same thing. By the time like the third round rolls around and like, okay, now this is turning into now it becomes like the hangout.
Yeah.
Like the random people want to come watch the game with us. They want to turn it into like a watch party. Like the girls that are in our group, they want to make it into like a social thing. I'm like, are y'all coming here to watch the game? Or are you here just to like chit chat?
Yeah.
Because we want to cry when Dirk wins. We can't just be hanging out here.
The first time when they lost to the Heat, I would hang out at the end zone over in Plano.
Yes, I know exactly where that's at.
Yeah, which is where me and my wife were, the mother of my child had our first slow dance, and I had no business bringing her in there. But like, what a dirt hole that is. But the first time the Mavs were in the playoffs, I remember they when they won the conference championship to go to the championship. I don't know who they
Phoenix.
beat. Yeah, maybe it was Phoenix.
Yeah.
They beat, and so now we're going to the championship. I remember me and my buddy Billy, the time we go to the bar. And this is a good back in the day story. So we go to the bar, and I was like, "Hey, do you want a drink?" So we walk up to the bar, and it's one of those things where like in our early 20s, like I ordered a drink and I turn and I go, like, I look to my buddy to be like, hey, Billy, what do you want? And I look and Billy's gone. He was just there. And I look around and he's on the floor, knocked out cold. And this random dude who had just gotten out of jail just walked into the bar and just decided he wanted to punch somebody in the face. What? And it was my good friend that he knocked out. So I hit the dude with a beer bottle. We start scrimmaging. We get separated, and all my buddies in the other room, like, playing pool, like, after the game had ended, and I go grab them, and, like, I didn't have time to explain myself. And my buddy Will, who'd also done a lot of time, I grab him, and he's, like, trying to hit on some girl. And this is how good, you remember whenever you were young and you had friends that were just, like, these are your friends. Like, we're down to ride.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I remember at the time, I didn't even have time to explain what had happened. I was like, hey, outside right now, we got to go. And I just go walking out, and this guy, like, the staff's holding on to him. And I'm like a good 30, 40 yards away from this guy. And he's talking shit at me, and we're yelling back at each other. And finally, I mean, this is like a good-sized and shaped dude. And he breaks free of the staff, and he starts running at me full speed. And it's weird to be, like, most fights happen, like, quick. You know? And it was so weird to be in a situation where, like, this guy's running at me, but it's 30, 40 yards. Like, I had time to be like, all right, how are we gonna? It's a weird way to get into a fight. A weird way to get into a fight. And I remember thinking, I was like, all right, I'm gonna duck my shoulder, and, like, take him like that, like a football move, you know. And there's like a pillar right here. And my buddy Will, who I had no time to explain what's going on, he comes walking out the door a little late, and he runs at this dude. And right as this guy is about to hit me, my buddy Will hits him with like an elbow, moving full speed as well. The guy's head hits the pillar, passed out cold, just like he left Billy. And my buddy Will looks at me and goes, "What's going on?" And I was like, boy, I'll tell you in the car. Let's get out of here. You know what I mean? But those are, NBA playoffs. What a great time.
Playoffs will get you.
Playoffs will get you.
Dude, beer bottles are a crazy thing. Like, was that your first time to ever hit someone with a beer bottle?
Yeah, my one and only time.
Have you ever been hit with a beer bottle?
No. And the guy took it in stride. I mean, it broke. I mean, but it was like, it wasn't one of those things like, I grew up in unfortunately, I was writing about this the other day. I grew up in like, I'm such a nerd. But I've realized, like, I'm a comic book nerd. Like, I'm such a nerdy person about music, about comic books, about literature. But I grew up, like, I wrote a line the other day, and I'm going to, like, pull it out for a bit, but just about how, like, I get jealous sometimes of people that are nerds, you know, because, like, being a nerd requires a safe environment. Like, if you're growing up in, like, around a lot of violence, you can't be like, I love X-Men, you know what I mean? People beat the shit out of you, you know what I mean? Like, I had to hide that, and I had to fight, you know.
So you want to see my periodic table?
Like, you know, there was not, that was a death threat. Like, that was you putting yourself in a negative situation, and when you're already living in the red, as far as, like, how's the day gonna go, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, dude. Beer, like, I had a friend one time, it's kind of the same situation that you're talking about, to where, like, your buddies are like, we just got to go because we don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
We were at some bar in Addison, and one of my friends is dating this girl, and his, like, ex-boyfriend that we went to high school with is there, and they don't like each other. And then all of a sudden, we just see our friend is covered in blood, like, covered in blood. And then there's a broken beer bottle. One of the most common reasons for poor indoor air quality and HVAC malfunction is restricted airflow and poor air circulation caused by the failure to replace the air filters. When was the last time you replaced your air filters? Do you own rental property? Are you tired of climbing into your attic to replace your air filters? With Fresh Air Matters air filter replacement plans, you won't have to worry about replacing your air filters again. They provide the filters, they replace them for you, and they clean your return vents on the same day, same time, every 30 to 90 days. Go to freshairmatters.com or contact Steven at 469-469-1852 to schedule your air filter replacements plan or any other local IAQ services.
Yeah.
So we thought that he got the beer bottle, like, hit up over the side of his head, because all we see is blood, and they're, like, rushing him away or whatever. And we don't know what's going on because we didn't see any of it else. So my other buddy is out there, like, in his face, screaming at him, yelling at him, about to fight him. He takes his shirt off because my
these are all such, as someone who grew up in so much violence, all of these things are bad moves.
Yeah.
Like, you don't talk a lot of shit. You don't take your shirt off.
Yeah.
You move quick.
Well, my buddy
you get it done.
Was a college wrestler.
Okay.
So he knew he could fight, right?
Okay.
So
That's some cockiness.
Yeah, he's, like, yelling at the guy, and he goes, Mike, pull out your phone. I'm like, what is happening? Pull out your phone. I'm like, okay. Like, pull out my phone. He's like, put a stopwatch on. He's like, I will beat your ass in 17 seconds. Like, it's like, you're gonna break a bottle over my boy. Like everyone's freaking out. There's blood on I have blood, my friend's blood on my shirt. I don't know. It's just like all this type of stuff's going on. And I don't remember how it got diffused because nothing happened. It was just like a lot of yelling going back and forth. But we leave, we go to that, and I'm calling my friend, the one that got hit with the beer bottle, the next day, talking to him about it from our angle. And he was like, what happened? And he was like, y'all thought what? That I got hit over the head with a beer bottle? He goes, no. He goes, I cut my finger on the beer bottle. He goes, oops. He goes, it broke. Like the beer bottle like shattered. And that's like, I cut my finger. And I go, what? I was like, can you imagine our side? We see you get rushed out.
Yeah.
There's blood everywhere.
Yeah.
Y'all had a confrontation before that.
Yeah.
It's a broken beer bottle.
Turns out he just needed a school nurse.
Yeah, he just
needed a school nurse.
A Band-Aid.
Yeah, he just needed a Band-Aid. That was it.
And I'm stopwatching stuff.
I grew up around like so much like I was like my buddy I was talking to you about that's a big sports radio guy. We were joking the other day because whenever we were when we were young kids, one time I tell him like he threw a football at me or someone threw a football to me and I jumped up to catch it and he showed up to the party late and he hit me in the back and it broke my pinky. Like I came up, my pinky was going this way. And I told him the other day, I go, every day when I play guitar, I think about you because like sometimes my pinky will just not do, like it'll just stop.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I think about you every time I get a haircut. Because one time we were in Plano and we're driving down like 15th Street or something. And basically our buddy is in the back of the truck drunk and he yelled something. He was supposed to yell something at our friends at Taco Bueno, but he yelled too early. And he yelled some obscenities at like a car show guys that were like earmark. And we're like, hey, you idiot. Like that's we don't know those guys. He's like, oh, sorry. And then we make a right turn to go back to this party. And all of a sudden, this one of those like fancy cars is just like riding us real hard. And we're like, I remember I was 18 at the time. So we finally park in front of the house we're going to. And the three of us get out of the car. It's my buddy I live with now, this other guy, Tyler, and me. And this older man who's probably our age now gets out of the car. And you could like smell the whiskey on him. Like he was like smelling drunk. And he had like a cop mag flashlight in his hand, like one of those big mag lights. And I remember he like lines us up against the car because like we're not trying to fight this guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, "How old are you?" He asked everybody how old we are, and I was young, so I was like, "I'm 18." They're both older than me, but I'm a little bit taller, like at the time a little bigger than them. And he goes, "I'm gonna beat your ass first." And he took the mag light and he swung it at my head, like full, would have killed me. And I put my wrist up like this, and it hit me in the wrist, and somehow didn't break anything. But as soon as he did that, my buddy Hunter, like a dog, just tackles him, and we I think it's been long enough. We beat this dude real bad, and I remember he never let go of the mag light. Like we were trying to get out of his hand, and like even as he was getting pummeled, like he never let go of that mag light. And I'm thankful for it because looking back now as an adult, I'm like somebody could have really got.
Yeah,
I'm glad he didn't.
Aggression would have happened. Maybe someone would have hit him.
Something stupid happens. And I remember he crawled back to his car, but then we're all like, "Yeah, we won!" Like this is a grown man. I heard that. And by the way, to be clear about the story, this is a grown man who assaulted us. Like this is not like I'm not like. But then we're like, "Yeah, we like me and Tyler are high five, and we look at Hunter. Hunter's face is just covered in blood. Somewhere in the scrimmage, that dude tagged Hunter. Like, he tagged Hunter right in the head with a mag light and just still has the scar here, face just covered in blood. I remember driving him back to his parents' house, and he's like, I don't know what I'm going to tell him happened. I'm like, tell him a grown man assaulted us.
Attacked you guys.
Yeah.
And you defended yourself. Imagine that guy going back to the car show.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that dude was pissing blood for a while.
You know
and
what I
he
mean?
deserved it. He deserved it. I mean, he launched two what could have been death strikes on two different people, on 18-year-old kids.
Can you imagine at our age now?
No.
Messing with some teenagers?
No.
I couldn't even imagine that. I remember there was...
I know what teenagers, because we won the fight. Like 18 to 21-year-olds are like the most dangerous animals on the planet.
Yeah, you don't mess with no 21-year-old.
Yeah, I'd be out of breath so fast. You know what I mean? Like, even if you get the first part of the, like, I'm gonna be so winded quick.
Yeah, I went to a couple of weeks ago. I went to OU, so when all of my friends and I, we usually try to do one game a year that we all go to. So we went to a game a couple of years ago, brought the families and stuff a couple of weeks ago, and every dude there is in shape. Yeah, like every guy at the game. Like like even the ones that you're like, that guy's not in shape. Then it gets a little bit hot. They all take their shirts off. Like, why is everyone ripped?
I get frustrated too. Like I work out every day just because for my mental health, and it's like, and I see other dudes. I'm like, why is this guy like the young? Like if I was like 28 or 25, it'd be so different. You know?
Yeah.
But at 38, I'm like, you know,
you do what you
pretty
can.
good.
Right?
Do what you can. Do what you can. Yeah.
I was laughing about that though. Is we had 1 year in college after a football game. I don't remember what happened that this guy wanted to fight our group of friends, but he's like 40 years old. He's our age now. We're
Jesus.
he's like 40 years old.
I'm about to say 21-year-olds. I mean, when 21, it all seems so dumb. Like I don't want to fight anybody anymore.
Yeah, we're 21.
It's embarrassing.
But the 40-year-old wanted to fight us. Something happened where his wife or his girlfriend slapped one of my friends. I don't know. She's drunk. They're very, very Oklahoma couple. You know, very, very, like very Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And so we, of course, were 21.
I remember being in Oklahoma one time at a comedy club, and I watched a woman visibly drunk, like crawl back to her minivan and drive away in it. And it had a bumper sticker that said "Mothers Against Drunk Driving." And I was like, "What a good ploy! What a great ploy!" You know, I mean, you're swerving a little bit on the road. The cops think you're just slapping a kid.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, like,
she's a little tired.
Yeah, I thought at the time I was like, "What a great way to get away with drunk driving."
Drunk driving. No way she's driving.
Yeah.
So we go to that. So, of course, we're 21, so we're egging him on. Right? Oh, you gonna let her slap you like that? What are you going to do about it, man?
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
Oh, Jesus.
So he leaves, and he comes back. I don't know why he came back, but he went to Sonic. I don't know. Like, he came to Sonic, and he had like a Route 44 drink on her, and his plan was to dump this on her. So he goes to her, and he just dumps that on her. It's happened 30 minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
So then, of course, now the husband or the boyfriend, whatever it is, now he's got to do something about it.
Yeah, of course.
And so we leave the bar and we walk like a block away to this like grassy area for them to fight, right? And so this poor 40-year-old man just gets demolished. I mean, again, like you're 21, we're 21.
Yeah.
And my buddy, like
we're invincible.
And all my friends wrestled at OU, like they're trained to fight.
Yeah.
And so he gets him in some kind of hold. I don't know what he does, but this guy can't move. He's struggling or whatever. And so every couple of minutes, or every couple of seconds, my friend is rearing back like he's going to punch him in the face and then just tapping him on his head. And the guy is like using all his might, like struggling, like trying to get out. And my buddy's not even. Like,
that hurts my feelings to hear about it.
And then he told him,
because I'm imagining me in that scenario. You know, like that's like
So there's just a group of people watching it, and he tells him, he's like, "All right, what I want you to do is like, I'll let you out of this hold. He's like, but you got to tell everyone that you're a little bitch and you just got beat up by a 20-year-old." And the guy was like, "No!" Already, and he like screamed real loud, and he struggled, and he couldn't move.
He just needed one more Route 44. You know, if he could have been Sonic and powered up on one more Route 44, I think he would have been fine.
Oh,
but
God.
You know,
kids are. 20-year-olds are stupid, and then 40-year-olds
and so strong,
and just so much testosterone. They're not tired at all. They're on Adderall. Like, they're just like they got so much going for them.
I remember being at the skate park when I was a kid and like being able to like launch myself over like 20-foot boxes, doing like a 720, like mess it up, land on my back. Like you're coming 15 feet out of the air, landing on your back on concrete. And just getting up and being like, whew, I feel alive.
Yeah.
Boy, that didn't hurt at all. That's crazy. Like if that happened to me now, like I could end up homeless. You know what I mean? Like I can't afford to go to the doctor. You know what I mean? Like it could entirely ruin my life.
When's the last time you when's the last time you jumped off of something and landed on your feet?
Oh, it's been a while.
Okay, I did it recently on something that was not that high in the ground, and I thought life was ending for me. I was like, this is what takes me out, jumping off of this thing with my kids. They're 9 and 6, so they're just like bouncing off everything, right? And I was like, I can jump off of that, and I was like, oh, like my knees buckled. It was bad.
I had a situation like my most like this is what getting older is like. I can think of my most recent like flirt with death, which is where I was just at home. I'm sitting on the couch and I'm wearing socks on hardwood floors, and I stood up and like made a move around the couch real quick, and I slipped. Like I went like this, slipped. And then I recovered. And I remember like my heart was pounding. I was like, whew, I almost died.
Yeah.
I almost died. Like that would have like I was about to go down hard.
I have two falling stories for you. Okay. So,
God. Getting old.
Last week I'm on the phone. I'm having a conversation, like a work call. Like a normal, like I'm having a professional call, and I'm in our house trying to like clean up a little bit while I'm on the phone. And my wife's got like all the stuff out for like Halloween and everything. And I noticed that the closet light is on in the room that I'm in. So I was like, oh, I'm going to turn this off. And so I try to like step over this tote of stuff she has, and I trip over it. And I go vertical in the air. Like I go vertical in the air.
Like you're going in the end zone?
The tote is crashed. It's ruined completely. My head hits the dresser. The phone falls out of my hand. It's all this noise. I've broken. There's plastic shattered everywhere. My elbow's all cut up. I pick up my phone. The guy that I'm on the phone is still talking. He doesn't like I'm out of breath. I'm like, this is, and in my mind, I was like, when I hit that dresser, I was like, this is it. I die by tote.
Yeah, I die by tote.
Like all this.
I remember it's embarrassing because I remember even if when I had that little almost fall, I like now when I think about it, like the next day, like I told like a couple different people, I'm like, man, yesterday the craziest thing happened. Like I almost fell on the hardwood floor. Can you believe that? And like it was like to me that was a story worth telling.
Yeah,
the idea that like I almost fell down really hard yesterday. Can you believe it? And they were like, whew, that was close, huh? I'm like, I wouldn't even be here right now.
Like, I know, and they probably had a story to tell you.
I wouldn't even be here right now. You know what I mean?
And it's like all the things that you've done.
Anyways, let's go to the end zone, have a drink. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Dude, so you just filmed your special.
Yeah,
and it was incredible.
Thank
I told you
you
before we started recording it, I've seen you 100 times. It's the best that I've ever seen you do. Hands down.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that as a compliment. But
I think
I
did you not? Were you happy with the set? I know we're always hard on ourselves after sets, but
no. And Travis is here producing, and he produced it. And I told him like it was as soon as people don't really. It was like I mean I hate sometimes talking about this kind of stuff like the men's stuff about like fighting and stuff, but like it's like people don't realize like we did it in one take.
Yep.
There's so much chaos is going on. It's like whenever you do win a fist fight, like when you walk away, you're like, oh man, I guess I won. You know what I mean? But it was like it was so intense. Like it was so intense, but like in a laid back way because you've got one take. You've put 8 years of work into it. I'm filming in a place I got banned from. I kind of put a lot of pressure on myself. And my set is it's not the way it goes. I mean, you heard the hour. I mean, it's not all fun and games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I do a couple dips in there on purpose. So I was like, I'm so glad it's over and I'm so happy with how it came out. Like whenever Travis, like I was happy with it. Then Travis sent me the mix, the unmixed part of it. And like, I sat down at a bar and put on my earbuds, like ordered a drink. Cause I was like,
here we go, right?
I hope this is how I remember it. You know what I mean?
And was it?
Yes. I was very happy with it. Like we're going to I did like an hour 10 almost. So I think we're going to cut it down to like 45, so it should come out swinging.
Dude, so I was in the audience. I went to it, obviously. And I wanted to watch the audience like before and like during the show. So there was like a buzz before the show started. Could you feel that at all?
No, I didn't go out there.
You didn't go out there?
No, I didn't go out there.
Did you feel that at all? Yeah, there was. Just ask Travis. Travis produces the podcast. You guys know him. And he produced and shot Lawrence's special. So there was this like people were hyped. Like it was like there was like a fun buzz about it. I think I saw you one time walk from the green room back, and you looked to go get a drink. And you looked very nervous. Like you looked very like how I am sometimes too before big things. Like you were zoned in. I knew it was going to be a good show when I saw how you were zoned in. And someone like came up and talked to you, and I could tell by your body language how irritated you were by that. Do you remember that at all?
No.
I just like saw it happen because like I sat in the very back, so I was like watching everything, and there was like you walked back to get your drink. You were just like kind of in yourself. Someone came and said, and you're like, okay, yeah, or whatever. Because I'm the same way too. Like I don't really want to have a conversation before.
Well, no, I'm very different now. After the brain injury, as I refer to it, or as my bad times, it's like I get embarrassed sometimes. Like with Brittany, who was so supportive of me through comedy. It's like whenever I was new, we'd be like talking before a show, and I'd be like, "Hey, I have to focus because like I'm trying to memorize, trying to memorize what I'm doing here." And now I'm very different, where it's like, but like before the special, it felt like the whole night. I just felt like it's like ignoring the elephant in the room, but the elephant's like right here, like,
yeah,
hey, we're about to do this. You ready? You nervous? And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm fine. Like it was just that for days. And but now I'm away now where like I'm trying to be as loose as possible. So like even if someone was like trying, like I would love to be in this kind of conversation, and then someone's like, "Hey, you're up right now." I'm like, "Hey, I'll be right back."
Yeah,
and then run and do it. Like for me, that's better than just being like isolated and alone.
You were it was fun too. Like I was watching, like you had like a very different dynamic crowd. Like there was like a couple sitting in front of me. They were all over each other. Like,
oh, okay.
They were, like,
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I was at the very back, so there's no
Yeah.
way you would have seen them. But they were, because I was on the high tops in the very back, and then they were on those, those tables that are right in front of the high tops in the back. And like the guy, like the girl was like rubbing his head, like everything, like right in front of me. Then you had the black crew.
Yeah.
That they loved you.
Yes. And I felt like they were like the cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And that one dude, the one black dude at the end stood up and clapped.
Yes, I was hoping the rest would stand up.
Yeah, but he did. And Arun showed me, like, he sent me like the clip of it.
Yes.
And it made me I try not to do that stuff, like, but it made me very happy. Like, that made me very happy.
I legit was like, Lawrence is about to get a standing ovation. And I think that if he would have been in the middle, you probably would have got one. Because it was that type of performance, dude. Like, you should be very proud of the way it went. It was like the whole, from start to bottom, your entire set, it just was like bang, bang, bang. There was no lulls in it. Even the parts where you talk about where you wanted to like bring it down, it was perfect. Like it wasn't like there was a dip everyone was listening to every word you had to say. And I don't know about you, but to me as a comic, I kind of enjoy that more than I do laughs sometimes. Where I can just be like silent. And like, I have them. Like, they're ready to listen to every word I have to say.
They're paying attention.
Yeah,
And I always happy about it, and I feel like it's cohesive. Like it's not an hour. Like, and everybody works different, but like I'm a narrative guy.
Yeah.
So like I'm very happy that it all came out cohesive. Like it's like the next step is the next step is the next step is the next step, and it all flows together.
Yeah.
Especially because I've gotten to do the hour quite a few times, but not the way people that are headlining the road all the time. By the time they tape their hour. The hours, like I had to this is held together by duct tape, and like I'm working weekends where like I'm doing different 30-minute sets, and then trying to like in my head put those pieces together to make sure that it all comes out as an hour and put the dip in the right place, because the dip is supposed to go where when you're doing an hour, no matter how hard you're killing, the audience will naturally dip on you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like instead of letting the audience drop right where I think they're going to get tired, I do the dip on purpose to bring them back up, and now we're all running together again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but it was like very hard to like, and I think I did it. Like, listening to there's things I would change, but like I haven't thought about it too much. But like I think I did the dip a little. Like the dip could have gone a little bit later, but I didn't know how long I was going to be up there. Like an hour 10, everybody's I'm done. Like I'm so upset that I have to listen to it a few more times. An hour 10, like that's a chunk. I feel bad for Travis, like he's got to be so tired.
Travis got to have it memorized.
An hour 10 is a lot. It's a lot. Like by the time I got done, like there was a couple times I'm like, okay, like 30 seconds ahead. All right, I know this bit really well. I know this works. Okay,
you're watching on like 2 times speed.
Yeah, and there was like but Travis and I were talking about like trying to figure out which bits to cut out, and I'm so happy because when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, like I was having a hard time figuring out what to cut out, but I'm like, whatever bits we decide to cut out, I get to keep those.
I know.
You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, let's whatever we want to get out of here, then it's just going to help me build my next feature set, which will help me build the next hour.
Yeah, or like if let's say that it does really well, right? Let's say you get a ton of downloads on it,
which
listens.
I'm like trying to manifest. Like I keep telling Travis, like I've been very in my head, like this is going to do something. Like, this is going to do, and I think it's quality,
and it should. If it's good enough to get that. Like, it's really good.
And like, watching some other specials on Netflix, and like, it's like the ego in comedy, the ego in the arts is like a very fine line that you walk of like, I'm a piece of shit. This is great. It's hard to be a piece of shit.
Right?
And dude, literally like I told you the night after I filmed the special, I was like, and I've been like the last week, I've been writing every day for like an hour. Like I'm just like I'll be in my car and I'm just like grabbing my pen and writing down notes. Like I've already like chunked up what I think like the next 30 is going to be, at least thematically. Like I've got pages and pages in my notebook. I was writing an hour today because I'm just so excited to like start fresh.
Yeah.
But as soon as the special was over, I was like, oh, I can't wait to like start working on this new feature set. And Randy hit me up the next day and goes, hey, can you feature tonight? And I was like, well, not that fast. And the highs and the lows of this
you can
business.
Still do your material until it comes out.
Yeah, I can, but like, as our, like, we just get our own little, like, I get my own ideology in my head about what to do. And so then I walk into the club the next night and, this is after getting like a standing out, like, a couple of people standing up after like an hour.
Yeah.
Like, feeling amazing. And I go up first 7 minutes. Struggling real bad.
Yeah.
And then I start going into like all of the new stuff I'm trying to write. And I heard a lady out loud say 3 times, "This is not good." This is like, she kept saying, "This is not good." To like the third time, like I had to address it. Like I had to address it, and you want to be like, "You should have been here last night. I'm taking the special, you bitch." You know what I mean? Like, you can't, you can't.
I packed this place out for me.
Yeah, for me. Yeah, you know you're talking to, and but it was, sometimes you just embrace the highs and the lows of what this is. And despite that night, like I'm so, I've been writing like crazy. I think thematically, and everything will change, but I think thematically I know because I'm a new dad. And the first hour, it's all about my grandmother and my wife and the women in my life, and I think now as a dad, like all the stuff I'm writing now is about like, my grandpa and this other guy, Nicky. I grew up with a guy named Nicky who raised me for a while, who was like a ex-Hell's Angel Alcatel janitor who couldn't read, and me and him lived together for years. Mm-hmm. So it's like all these, like, these are all the things like I wrote down in the first year, and then I told myself I'm not good enough to talk about yet. Because like the Nicky thing is like a very tricky dynamic about who he is as a person and trying to talk about it. Because I love him and have so much respect for him, so I never wanted the audience to laugh at him. And I had that awareness even year one that was like, oh, if I did these jokes, I think they'd be laughing at who he is, and that's not
what you want.
That's not what I wanted, but I wasn't good enough to communicate that. So I'm already super excited to like, I think by the time this thing comes out, if it hits and it does something, we still have to film the B-roll. And I'm excited about that too, because like that's why I wanted to work with Travis, is I feel like you guys do like a really good job with these things. Like they're done professionally. So the special came out of this room. I came in here to do an interview with Travis, and I walked in with the idea of like trying to ask him like, hey, you think we could like tape something together? Like I would love for you to like at least do the audio, And so we're doing the interview in here, and at some point I just mentioned it, and then things, we went downstairs and talked, and then it turned into, an almost sold out night at Hyenas. Dude. And coming off stage in hour 10, and now we got to tape the B-roll, and I want that to be I want it to be something interesting and good and well, like I just want it to be really well done. Yeah. And then, because like that's what separates things on the internet, I feel like. Yeah. It's absolutely. Like, if it's just, because now whenever we're posting clips, it's going to be coming from 3 different angles. Everything's going to look very professional. The audio is going to be great. So I think it's weird to get to a place, because like doing an hour 10, now that the 45 strong. Headlining a club, you're doing 45. Yeah. So if you just got to be able to sell tickets. Yeah. In this business, you got to be able to sell tickets.
I think you have a really good special. I mean, just seeing it live, I'm sure, and I know the work that Travis does, so it's going to look great. And so,
have you ever thought about how to market yourself, like your comedy? Like, have you ever like thought of the idea of like packaging it? Like, how do you like present it like as a commercial?
Yes and no. I mean, sometimes I try to figure out like how do I market myself? Yeah, all of it, comedy, podcast, whatever. Yeah, it's a whole. I mean, I'm not that smart, I guess. Like like I did like the whole running thing where I did like the Juicy Jogger stuff like that. That was the best like online presence thing I've ever done. Yeah. It's I don't know, man. What about you?
No, I mean, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I'm terrified because, like, I think the hour's good. I'm very proud of it. But, like, the marketing side of it, like, I don't, it's like, hey, do you struggle with your mental health? Has your grandmother died recently? Have you ever been addicted to crystal meth? Are you a fan of the Golden Girls? Tune in. Boy, do we have a special for you. You know what I mean? Like,
you don't need it to do like that.
Yeah, of course. But this is what runs across my head. I'm like, I think it's good, and to me, it's a comedy that I grew up on. Like, I think it's representative of like where I come from and my story and everything, and the kind of comedy that I enjoy, which is personal. But I'm still working in my head with the idea of like, how are we selling this? What I mean? What's the market? What's the demographic for this?
You don't have to go into detail of what you're throwing it up on YouTube, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would like to try to like, it's going to go up on YouTube, but I would love it if we could like sell it to somebody. There's so many, or not sell it to somebody. Cause like, there's the idea of like, if you like, there's a lot of these like smaller networks that are probably looking for stuff like this. But if you get to give it to them, then it's stuck on their shitty channel.
Yeah.
Or it can go to everybody.
Yeah. I think like,
But I need someone smarter than me. Like I am not as privy to like where all like I had a girl say to me at the bar the other night, because we're talking about things. She's like, "What are you gonna put on YouTube?" And she goes, "Oh, that's great. I don't think YouTube's dead yet." And in my head, I was like, "Oh, YouTube's dying. I'm 38. I didn't know YouTube was dying. I had no idea about that. But like that put panic in me. I'm like, oh, there's obviously something I don't know.
I think it has another couple years in it, right? Because
where's everybody going now?
I don't know, but I think it died for a second and then it got popular again. I think it's considered the most used social. They call it. I don't know why they consider it social media, but they do.
Okay,
but I think it's up there as like the most watched social media. I know like kids that are under the age of 18, they watch YouTube more than they actually watch TV and movies and Netflix and stuff.
Yeah.
Like my daughters will get on YouTube more than they'll get on anything else and watch stuff on that.
That's what I thought too. But I was like, this 23-year-old girl, she goes, "Oh, YouTube's great. I don't think it's dead yet." And I just like walked away like, oh, that was terrifying. I didn't know anybody thought it was dying. I had no idea that YouTube was dying.
Well, okay. I think you can throw, you just need your clips.
Well, yeah, and then, I mean, everything's going to get clipped up.
Clipping it up.
Everything's going to get clipped up. And it'll all lead back to the actual hour.
And I don't know which one does better. Like
but I don't think anybody does.
I know because I'll have, and I'm sure I know I've seen you throw out clips and stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny to see like you'll put the same clip on all the different platforms, right?
Uh-huh.
And on one of them it gets nothing.
Yeah.
And then on another one, it's like, why did I get 5,000 views on this one? I don't even have any followers over here. And then on this other one where I have 1,500 followers, it got like 150 views. It doesn't make any sense.
I get embarrassed sometimes because like, man, for some reason this is doing really good on Facebook, and I don't know if that's a good sign.
Yeah.
I don't know. This Golden Girl stuff's killing it on Facebook. You're like TikTok, they're like, we've never even heard of that. Yeah. And what frustrates me, I was talking to somebody, I do that podcast with Jimmy and Scott, Oddball History. Shout out Oddball History. It's been really picking up lately. Like,
has it?
Yeah, we've been getting a ton of subscribers on YouTube and stuff, and even though YouTube's dying, and but what frustrates me is like I'll take the clip because Jimmy does a great job. He does all the clips for the show and puts them in like a shared file, so we all share them. Like he shares them on the channel for Oddball History, and then we share them on our own channels. And like I get frustrated on TikTok where like all of it's like some dumb clip of the three of us just joking about some weird history thing just skyrockets.
Yeah.
And then like me doing 3 minutes of crowd work that is real, like this is like I compared it to, it's like if you're a professional baseball player and you had a clip of you like hitting a major league home run, and then you posted a clip of you just throwing a tennis ball to your dog, and everybody's like, that's the one. We like that shit right there.
That stuff happens all the time.
Yeah. Like that's what we like. We love the tennis ball and the dog. Like, I hit a home run. You know what I mean? Like, no, we don't give a shit.
Care about your home run?
We've seen it. You know, we've seen it. We don't care. We just want to see you toss a ball to a dog. And the podcast, I love the podcast, but it's like I think the kids these days, they like this environment.
Yeah.
I think sometimes more to them, I think stand-up comedy is like kind of corny or something.
I guess. I don't know. And then you have other people whose stand-up clips are getting hundreds of thousands of views and everything like that, And
I was talking, I think on the last podcast, like the Matt Rife stuff is it's like, I have the argument about like people are talking about how like, oh, crowd work is like what people want. Everybody just posting their crowd work. And it's like, no. Like the internet decided that that's what they liked. Like comics didn't decide.
No.
Comics didn't decide that. The internet decided that's what we want to see. So then we all try to start providing. But we're all presenting our plates to the algorithm. You know what I mean? Like we don't decide what the algorithm wants. Yeah. And I think a lot of people got that. Like I hear a lot of people like, oh, well, people are just posting crowd work. I'm like, no, that's the internet just wants the crowd work.
Absolutely. I'm sure you can find 3 years ago, if you searched Matt Rife, you could find him doing jokes. But then his crowd work went bonanzas. So that's what he does. I
was working with Amos Gill a couple weekends ago, a really great Australian comic, super funny guy. He tours with Jim Jeffries and great guy. He does Australian. I don't know what it is. He's like, "Hey, what up, mate?" And I'm like, "What are we, best friends?" I think people from other countries don't understand space. And like the first time we worked together, it was just him, me, and because I'm playing White House Comedy. So it was just me and him at the bar, and like he sat like I could feel him breathing on my neck. And we're just sitting like, and I kind of want to like back away, but I'm like, this is who he is. And, and we're drinking. And by like hour 2 of him breathing on my neck, I stand up to leave and we're pretty drunk. And like, I went to like give him a hug and I could feel him being like, whoa, what are you doing?
Yeah,
and
easy, buddy. He's like, you breathed on my neck
You've been
for
breathing
25
on my
minutes.
neck for 2 hours calling me mate and I can't hug you? You know what I mean? Like, I'm the gay guy?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But working with him, he was talking about the clips and stuff like that and just trying to present yourself. No, what were we talking about before that? I just lost my own train of thought.
We were talking about
Matt Rife.
Matt Rife, yeah.
He was working a club and he goes, there was another comic that had worked a club before him that refused to do it. But Matt Rife was coming to that club the next weekend. So they asked Amos Gill, who's a great headliner in his own right. They go, hey, do you want to stay on Sunday? We're having, it's a sold out show. It's going to be packed around the block. And it is, everybody's coming to the show for a we're going to do a comedy show, but at the end of it, there's a raffle. And there's the opportunity for someone in the audience to win 2 tickets to Matt Rife next week. Do you want to stay on Sunday to do the show? And he's like, well, how much does it pay? And they told him, he goes, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he goes, it was one of the best shows I've ever had in my time because these women are just yelling crazy stuff at me. I'm doing crowd work. He goes, the next day I had like another 30,000 followers and like all these women are like, you're just as funny. Oh my God, we can't believe it. And he's like, it was the easiest thing in the world. But like, that's how huge that guy is.
I don't understand the hate about it. Like,
no, I don't hate anybody that blows up like that.
Yeah.
Like, if you've been in this business for so long, like anybody that finds their lane and their path, it's like, dude, I'm clapping for you, man. Like,
absolutely.
way to go.
And he's not some just like internet famous guy. He's been doing comedy for like 10 years.
Yeah.
He started when he was like 15. Like, it's not like he's he's done the time and everything like that. I don't know how he is as a material comic.
Yeah.
I haven't
But
seen,
who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares?
What does that matter?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I hate that mentality where it's like, oh, he's sold out or that, he went mainstream or whatever. Okay. Like, don't you want to quit your day job? Like, I do.
Yeah. 100%.
100%. That's what we're up here for, right?
And Amos said, like, yeah, the lines wrapped around the block, sold out show. And the only reason everybody's there is because 2 people could potentially win tickets to the Matt Rife show the next weekend.
That's nuts.
Isn't that nuts?
Just to win 2 tickets. Like the odds, like you have a 1 in 200 chance or whatever, how many seats they have in there.
But that's how huge that guy's doing right now.
Okay, so what right now you're in, I think this is I think this goes in like kind of with your special, like the preparation for it. In this point of your career, what gets you nervous about shows? Like, talk just the special. Like, what were you the most worried about?
I think I am such a trying to like I've spent the last 3 years not doing a set list where I just want to be in the moment.
Okay.
I've got 5 different openers. I got like 7 different closers. How we do the middle is entirely in the air. And I had, because of some things that happened in my own brain and like some of my own problems, like I just had to get good at like kind of fighting with a blindfold on, And so whenever it came time to film the special, I was like, okay, I've spent 2 years being like, it's all jazz, baby. You know what I mean? So being like, okay, we need to think.
Yeah.
We need to sit down and think. And I would just pull out my pen and I would just like, as I was like, my preparation was like, I would like just random parts of the day, I'd pull out my pen and I would just set list 50 bits.
Okay.
Just to like, and they didn't all have to come out exactly the same way every time, but I just wanted to make sure it was like, I just wanted all the plays on my arm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying we're running all these, but like, I don't want to forget anything. And there was like 1 or 2 short bits that I did forget, which is totally fine because now I still get to keep them. But I think I was just most worried about doing an hour. Like, I just didn't want to be in a situation where I was like, oh, this isn't going well. I got to pick up the energy. And I never felt that way. Like, listening to it, there's like, it drags on a little bit because it's an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, it drags on a little, but that might be me. I'm tired of hearing myself. If it was somebody else hearing it for the first time, we all forget what we sound like to an audience the first time, even to each other.
Yeah.
Like, we forget the magic or what our, like, because your first impression matters so much. Like, I did the Plano House of Comedy festival, which I didn't want to do. It's a long story. Beth Stelling is someone I'd worked with before. She's amazing. But like, it's like Linda Stogner. She went up right before me, and it was like this was an almost sold out Plano House of Comedy room. And I think we all just, because we're all used to Linda, like, you forget how different she comes off. Like, the first time you see her, like, you forget what it was like the first time you saw her and how unique it is, And So it's how you come off to the audience. Like I was so nervous that I was going to be like 10 minutes in and being like, oh shit, man, I didn't start right. This isn't going good. I was worried. And I like doing crowd work, but I'm glad I stayed away from it. Cause like at a normal show, there's not as much at stake. Mm-hmm. But that night I was like, I'm not trying to throw hurdles at myself.
Yeah.
Because some crowd work, like that's one of the things we're probably going to cut out of it. It's like I talked to those 5 ladies for a second and it didn't really go where I wanted it to go. And I got out of it pretty quick and just got back to the material. But we can edit that out. Like that, none of that needed to happen.
Did you, I don't know if you noticed this, but it's something I noticed when you told your joke about the ranch.
Uh-huh.
And you were like, you said something about, when you mentioned ranch dressing, they gave you a hoot. They're like, ooh, ranch.
Yeah. They loved it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I felt like they were cheerleaders. And there is something like, I don't know how I feel about it. Like there is something like, there's something in me. It's like whenever the black people are loving it, I'm like, oh, it's killing it.
You're doing
I'm
well.
killing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a different bar there. You know what I mean? And if they're loving it, I'm like, fuck you. If you're not, what are you, not cool?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they're loving it over here. You know what I mean? And like they were, I was so happy that they were into it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just nervous. I wasn't really nervous about any. Like I was more nervous about Travis. I was nervous about Travis. I didn't want to let people down.
Yeah, he's in there.
Yeah.
I'm nervous around him too.
Yeah. Well, no, I just didn't want to. I sincerely did not want to let down people who had invested in me.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like if it was me putting everything together, the cameras together and stuff, like it would have been all on me. But like, whenever other people have invested in you, it's like a different kind of energy. Like you feel some need to like, you're not going to do anything different than you normally do, but there is that added sense of pressure on it. And I think I was most nervous about like the 2 months leading up to the show. Like every comic I'd see, they're like, hey, I'm coming to the show. And in my head, I was like, oh, thank you so much. But I'd also be like, fuck, if I walk up there and it's just like 100 local comics looking at me, I'm going to be like, this is not going to,
what you want.
This is not going to be what I wanted. And as soon as I walked up, I was so thankful that it was just strangers.
Yeah.
And the comics, I could see their shadows in the back and I could hear their laughs. And like, but that just felt supportive.
Yeah.
Instead of like, being there, they were just.
You definitely had a lot of support there. I mean, there was at least, I don't know how many comics were there, but there were
tons of comics. And like, I was like, when I got off and I saw how many comics were there, because I think a lot of them showed up late. Like I was, man, I'm super thankful for that stuff, man.
Whether you suffer from allergy symptoms like sneezing, coughing, itchy eyes and throat, runny nose, asthma, more severe respiratory issues, or even cancer, poor indoor air quality has been directly linked to your overall health. Take control of the air you breathe today. Contact Steven of Fresh Air Matters for more. Fresh Air Matters has everything you need to clean the indoor air before you breathe. Go to freshairmatters.com/air purifiers and use my promo code PASVAR, that's PASVAR, at checkout to receive a special discount on all air purification products. Go to freshairmatters.com or call or text at 469-469-1852. That's freshairmatters.com or call or text at 469-469-1852. Something you mentioned in your set, that your grandma that helped raise you is, because you're half Mexican, half white, was your white grandmother, right? Yeah. So were your cousins on that side, were you close with them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the only cousins I was close with. And they're all like 6'2", like
and look nothing like
real
you,
skinny and like pale white.
Yes. Okay. That's what I want to talk to you about, because my dad's from Iran. My mom's from Louisiana. I don't have like a close relationship with any of my dad's family, except for I have like 2 cousins that I know because they lived in Holland and we went and saw them, but everyone else I've never even met. So I always had my extremely white family cousin. Did you always feel like the oddball whenever you were hanging out with them? Like,
whenever we took every time we take a group photo at Christmas, like I look like I work there. Like they gave me the day off. You know what I mean? Like it was, I always felt, and that's kind of like, that's one of the new chunks I'm writing. And this next thing I'm writing is just about like, I think that it's just about, it's like, if you grow up a certain way, I've always felt like a tourist.
Yeah.
In my life. Like you feel like you're in someone else's country, kind of taking in their world.
Yeah.
And that you don't really belong there.
I understand that completely.
Yeah,
I
and
definitely
that is what the being half and half
100%
was about.
Well, and especially like,
and that's what I was nervous about too. That was one of the things I had to really sit down and think about with the special, because it sounds like I talk about being Mexican because my last name is Rosales. I look the way I look. Like to strangers, I am Mexican.
Yeah.
Obama's black before he's president. He's not half white.
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I come from, my white family. So I a lot of the jokes I do where I talk about Mexican and then when I finally do the reveal about being half white, like I had to like make sure that I had my timeline in order as far as like, because you can't like reveal that you're half white and then do the Mexican jokes. Like you got to get all those out of the way and then do that. This is like a weird thing comics think about. It's like I have to have the reveals of certain things in the right places. And there's the Uber part I do in the story. I fucked up the timeline on that a little bit, but I don't think anybody else, I think only I would notice.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah, and I really relate to that a lot with the halfness, because like how you said, you're like, my last name is Rosales, and I look the way I look, even though I was raised by the white side of your family. I'm not Iranian. I don't know nothing about the Iranian culture.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I used to like growing up just be like, I'm white, I'm white, I'm white, and like my parents even would be like, Iranians are technically Caucasian, and we fought it so much, like it's like we're like, and I finally to the point it's like it doesn't matter if like in the technical term that I am Caucasian, the world does not look at me like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's why I get very frustrated when somebody's like, oh, well, you're white or you're raised by the white side of your family. I'm like, you have to like, that's what the whole thing's about is like, no matter what you actually are, most of us are forced to self-identify how other people identify us at a distance.
Yeah.
That's who you are to the majority of people.
100%.
Who you are at a distance.
I had a conversation with someone similar to that recently, where they were talking about, I hate how everyone's like, oh, I'm Asian American or Iranian American or whatever. It's like, just we're all American. I was like, that's because you've never been asked what you are.
Yeah, exactly.
I said the reason why all of us that have to say what we are, is because we meet other people and they're like, what are you?
Uh-huh.
But y'all are the people that are mad that when we claim what we are.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole reason. It's because your entire life you've had to explain, why do you look different than us?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And people don't realize the war of atrophy and the 1,000 cuts that come with being different than the majority.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know it's little things, racism things where it's like I know people when like people will look at my driver, they'll look at my last name and they'll say Gonzalez. And I'm like, dude, that's not even close. Even if I did speak Spanish, like R's and G's are totally different looking. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, to me, it's like if someone says Rosales, like that's them just doing their best.
Yeah, they just can't read. They just can't say.
They didn't say it right. But if somebody looks at it and goes Gonzalez, I'm like, oh, you're a piece of shit. That's what you just said.
Yeah,
you're a piece of shit.
Saw that I was Mexican.
Yeah.
Saw a Mexican name. So
and then you just ignored the R and all the S's.
Said
like,
whatever.
I'm going to put a G there. I'm going to throw a couple Z's and Gonzalez, right? I'm like, you're looking at it.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was getting out of jail. I got arrested a lot when I was a kid. And I remember the, whatever they're called it whenever you're inside the jail. And I was like my last day and he's walking me out. And so me and the jailer are sitting there standing next to each other and we're waiting for this guy to call my name to give me my stuff back. And I look at him and go, look at you, because it was like this tall white guy. I was like, look at your fucking piece of shit friend, right? Watch, he's about to call me Gonzalez. And he goes, Lawrence Gonzales? And I was like, see, fuck you guys. And I go over there and grab my stuff and like walked out. Yeah. But it was, the police love to say Gonzales. They love to say Gonzales. Yeah.
That's stupid, man.
But it was, it's been a weird fight my whole life. It's like around my Mexican friends, it's like, well, you're not Mexican. And around your white friends, like, well, you're not white.
Yeah.
So it's like, you just feel like you don't fit in anywhere.
No, absolutely. And it's just like, you're just this, I don't know. It's a weird feeling. I didn't have any. I mean, I don't think I went to school with any Iranians. I think maybe there was like 3. And
when I was like 21, I got a message on MySpace, and it was, and actually like I didn't check anymore. So like I went to another one of my friends, this girl ran in, and she hits me up and goes, hey, this girl just sent me a message, and she goes, hey, Lawrence, was he born in Oak Cliff, and his mom's name's Trena, and all this other stuff? And she goes, she says she's your sister. And I was like, what? And I met my half brother and my half sister the next week.
21?
Yeah, for the first time. And it was so cool because they look like
like
me.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like this revelation. Like it's like just being around. Like it's not that I needed it, but it was just so cool to like sit down and have breakfast with two people that looked like me.
Because everyone else in your family didn't look like you.
No, yeah.
And except and that's I mean I have a sister, so like she looks like me and my dad looks like me. But I like when we got close to our cousins that lived in Holland that were Iranian, I thought the same thing too. It's like I'm like taking pictures with cousins that look like me.
Yeah.
These other cousins I'm hanging out with, and it's like, who's this kid that's with them?
Yeah.
You know, like what?
I always looked adopted or looked like I work there. Yeah. So like it was very
steal
cool.
them or something, like. So it's definitely.
I get uncomfortable around big Hispanic audiences.
Really?
Like I worked with that Saturday Night Live guy recently. I can't remember his name.
I know who you're talking about. He came to Hyenas recently.
Yeah. And I was featuring for him, and it was very. I feel like whenever shows are all about ethnicity, it kind of becomes like a rah-rah thing.
Yeah.
And maybe I just feel that way because I don't get to do it. You know what I mean? But I feel like he'd walk out there and everything's like, well, you know how Salvadorians are, blah, blah, blah. And like everybody's just like, they're yelling already. Like he hadn't even told a joke. He just said an ethnicity. You know what I mean? And like, as someone who's never belonged anywhere, you're like, this is so cheap. Like, I don't feel like I get to do this.
Yeah.
Because I talk about being Mexican, but it's about being outside of it.
Yeah.
It's
a whole different story that you're telling then.
And it's like my grandma was fine with saying like slightly racist things to me. That's what I talk about it because like even she was like, well, you're not
not really one of them. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And which is offensive. It's like, hey, I offended you. And then my explanation is a little bit more offensive than the thing I said before. It was, and like I said, I didn't argue with her, but I would just take it on the chin. You know what I mean? But like, that is what it was.
Well, it's like, I used to have like grown people that would tell me, well, you're not white. Yeah. And they would say it to me like that, like it was like a negative thing to not be white. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, you're not white, dude. What are you talking about? I had a teacher tell me that one time. I had like another adult tell me that. And it was in the way they said it was as if you weren't white. It was a bad thing,
I remember in like 9th or 10th grade in the cafeteria early in the morning. And this is like way before the world was as, as nice as it is now about things. And I remember this girl, Helen Ash, I'll never forget it. I said something and I was like, well, I'm Mexican. And she goes, yeah, but you're like domesticated. And I remember like, even at a young age, like that hurt me. Like that was like that was a real brutal thing to have a little white girl say to you.
Yeah.
That you're domesticated.
Well, and I would imagine, so you grew up you went to high school in Plano, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Plano Senior?
Mm-hmm.
Were there a lot of Hispanics that went to that school?
No,
yeah.
not really.
And if they were Hispanic, were they usually like first generation?
Yeah, and they were like in the ESL classes.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it was in my school too, where it was like if we had Mexican kids that we went to school with. We went to school with a lot of Mexican kids, but
like I'm failing Spanish 1, they're failing ESL. Yeah. I mean, like it was like we weren't really meeting in the middle.
And so it is. I can see how that would be like a weird mix for you because those dudes, you don't relate to them at all, and then you've got white girl telling you you're domesticated Mexican. Like it's a weird way to grow up.
I remember I had to go to like jail school or like special programs my junior and senior year for a certain amount of time. And senior year I went just because like I was in a program where like I had to have a job and I could leave school early because I had to support myself. And I remember the junior, whenever I had to go to like the jail school part of it for 6 months, it's called Program 3, and like you weren't allowed to talk to each other. Like they had like you weren't allowed to stop at the water fountains in the hallway. Like you weren't allowed to have a backpack. You had to carry everything in a tote because everybody's dangerous or whatever. And I remember these Mexican kids like trying to talk to me, and I realized that all the Mexican kids were all wearing Converses, and they're trying to talk to me like, oh, are you in a gang? And like, it took us a while to like finally through the language barrier. They're like, "Oh, are you in a gang?" And I had to look down at my Converses and try to explain. No, I'm in a ska band. Big difference here. Big difference.
My fashion.
Yeah. I'm gonna whenever school's out, I'm gonna walk this way. You guys walk this way. Or whatever way you guys are going. You guys go your way. I'm gonna go the other way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the podcast is called Back in the Day. Each season, I try to focus on like a topic that I go over, right, with my guest. This time I'm talking about like getting in trouble, right? Like stories from back getting in trouble. You have a story from like getting in trouble at home?
Get in trouble at home?
Yeah.
Oh, this is way lighter.
Okay.
This is way better. Yeah. I was talking about this the other day. I was talking to my mom about like when I lived with my grandmother. I was in like 6th grade, and my handwriting's terrible, which is something I actually talked about in the special. And they would make me, my grandparents work, so I had to go to like this after school program.
Okay.
And it was so stupid. And it's like I lived walking distance from the school. I just wanted to go home and watch X-Men. So one day I wrote my own note, releasing me from the after school program. And I just gave it to this kid, Brandon. I gave it to him. And I go, hey, just give this to the counselor after school. And it's in my handwriting, clearly not an adult's handwriting.
Yeah.
And I give it to him, and I just walked home. And I'm watching X-Men, which as was the plan. And the phone rings, the landline rings, and I answer it. And my grandma goes, Larry, is that you? And I go, no. And I just hung it up. And she came home. She left work early and came home and beat my ass. But, if you're going to skip school and write your own note, when you go home, if the landline rings, do not answer the phone.
Yeah.
Is what I learned that day. Yeah, real bad move on my part.
You just got a beating, though? Nothing else?
Yeah, I got the belt buckle.
Did you get in trouble from school with it at all? Did they do anything to you at school for skipping?
No. I mean, after your grandma beats your ass, you don't really remember a detention.
Yeah.
That's all kind of a side effect. You know what I mean? I got beat up by an old white woman last night.
She took the shit.
Yeah.
That hurt you emotionally and physically.
My grandma used to be quick, dude. Like, my grandma was like the sweetest woman, but like if you pissed her off, like one time we were at Brahms and I was sitting in a booth with a buddy. You know how it's like my grandparents were in the booth behind us, but we're kids, so we're sitting in our own little booth eating our ice cream. And my grandmother used to always wear a wig. And when we'd leave the house, and I remember I looked at my buddy like, hey, watch this. This is going to be hilarious. And I turn around behind me and I lift my grandmother's wig off of her head just a little bit, drop it back down. I turn around and I look at my buddy like this and I'm laughing like, oh, high five, wasn't that hilarious? And like, have you ever seen The Departed?
Yeah.
It's
been a while.
Whenever Jack Nicholson takes Leonardo DiCaprio in the cast to see if he's wearing wire and just bangs it against the pool table? My grandmother grabs me by the hair and just like, those plastic booths at Brahms, just bam, 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 bam. And just turns around and goes back to her ice cream. And I turn around and look to my friend. Like, whenever you're trying to act like you're not crying, but clearly you're crying, I'm just like. And I got assaulted by a grandmother at Brahms once.
Dude.
We never talked about it.
Never talked about it again?
Never talked about it again. She just smashed my head into a booth like about 4 or 5 times.
And just moved on from it.
And then we all just finished our ice cream. And I just kind of wiped my tears away, and then just got back in the car.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to end this bad boy.
Yeah.
Like Lawrence, dude, this is a lot of fun, man.
A lot of fun.
I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you? Promote the podcast, promote yourself on
Odball History. Check us out, Odball History. It's me and 2 other amazing local comics, and every other week we pick like just a random topic, like the Cleveland Balloon Festival, where they're going to release the most balloons ever, and it caused a couple deaths. That polluted Canada, shut down the city for an entire weekend. Everything really went wrong. So we pick topics like that, and the 3 of us show up, and we all have a different version of the event, and we just talk about it, and it's really doing great. And you can find me at Lawrence Rosales, and then whenever the special comes out, you're going to find it on the I'm a Fan of podcast network. Check me out. Come out to a show.
Guys, make sure you follow Lawrence on Instagram at Lawrence Rosales or wherever else you find him. Check out his podcast, Oddball History, and make sure you watch his special when it drops. And make sure you guys follow me at Michael Pasvar on Instagram, michaelpasvar.com for show dates. Subscribe, follow the podcast, share it, like it, rate it, all that good stuff. Bye now.